Having a monkey brain means there are two things that always pique my interest. Big explosions and big speed. And sometimes they go together. With that in mind, what if I told you the fastest way to travel in Space Engineers is not using thrusters but instead using gravity generators? Gravity generators are large ship blocks that exert up to 1 g of artificial gravity in a 75 meter radius,
or 30 blocks in all directions as represented here.
This artificial gravity only affects players, floating debris like ores and scrap, and, relevant to this video, mass blocks. Mass blocks are only affected by gravity when powered, meaning you'll need a battery or another power source in order for the gravity generators to affect it. But even just a battery and a mass block makes a good projectile. Now you'd think, if you place a gravity generator and a mass block on the same grid, they wouldn't interact with each other, right? Oh.
The combination of using gravity drives and mass blocks together is referred to by the community as a gravity drive. If you want to build your own gravity drive, the first thing you need to do is turn on your centre of mass.
If I place a block and then go to my menu, go to info and go show centre of mass, you'll see very faintly there's this red dot with the lines on it to indicate where the centre of the mass of the grid is. The reason we want to do this is because the gravity drive pulls the grid from the centre of the mass. For example, with this setup here, you can see that the centre of mass is above the centre of the grid. So now if I place a battery, you'll see that this now starts spinning. While spinning is a good trick, it's not practical if you want to use a gravity drive to build a ship. The easiest way to make sure the centre of the mass of your grid is the centre of the grid is to use symmetry. By pressing M, you can bring up the symmetry planes, and you can press M again to toggle between them. So we want this green symmetry plane here, and you click to confirm that. And we want this blue symmetry frame here. It's symmetry in both these directions. So now if I place a block, you'll see it places a block either side. If I place a block at the bottom, it places it at the top as well. And as you can see, the centre of the mass is still the centre of this grid. And here I've placed my gravity generators and mass blocks, and as you can see, the centre of mass is still at the centre of the grid. This means when these gravity generators are active, it will pull the grid directly forwards rather than at an angle. I'm going to quickly place some thrusters in order to give us some stopping power, but I will turn them off in a second. There you go, I've placed all my thrusters. I've only placed one thruster on the back of the ship because the energy usage of one thruster is roughly equivalent to the energy usage of 4 gravity generators and 4 mass blocks. So we're going to go first just with thrusters. We're going to see how long it takes us to get to 100 meters a second. So that took 43.2 seconds to reach 100 meters per second. And now you see in the distance, you can see my little platform. We're going to fly back using the gravity generators. Now keep in mind this is the same power usage as that single thruster on the back of my ship. Not even close. Just in case you were unsure about how ludicrously fast the gravity drive is, I've installed the unlimited speed mod so we're not capped at 100 meters a second. So, oh, there's 100. 200. Let's see how long it takes to get to 1,000 meters a second. The gravity drive got to 1,000 meters per second in half the time it took that ion thruster to get to 100 meters per second. 4 gravity generators and 4 mass blocks is the equivalent power of 1 ion thruster, right? You could just build more of these. Like, I guess you could build more thrusters, but you could just build more gravity generators and more mass blocks. And each individual one of these gravity generators is applying thrust to each one of these mass blocks. So that's 1 gravity generator affecting 4 mass blocks. And then obviously there's 4 gravity generators, so each gravity generator is affecting each mass block. So it's effectively getting 16 times the amount of gravity from it. You could just build more gravity generators. It's stupid. The only drawback is you have to make it symmetrical. And I'm sure there are ways around that using subgrids and everything. Watching a speed gauge go up isn't exactly the best demonstration of how fast this thing is. So why don't we do a race? Striker has very kindly volunteered to fly a second ship. That ship's going to use thrusters, and I'm going to use the ship with the gravity drive. If you see over there, there's a red square. That's the finish line, as you can see. So we're going to fly to that. It's about 1 kilometer away. So may the best man win. Right, on your marks, get set, go. Almost no contest. See that tiny green speck in the distance? That's the loser, the ion thruster. Oh, well, not to worry, we're still flying half a ship. Now that we've seen the gravity drive in action, how useful is it really? First of all, the drive is really effective at getting up to max speed, which is especially important for large vessels as they take much longer to accelerate. Accelerating uses the most fuel and energy for a journey, and to top it off, gravity generators actually use less power than ion thrusters. However, the gravity drive does have two major flaws. Firstly, gravity generators only work on large grids, meaning that you can only have this complete setup on a large ship. However, mass blocks can be placed on small grids. Secondly, the effectiveness of gravity generators is indirectly proportional to planetary gravity. In other words, on a planet with 100% gravity, gravity generators are 0% effective and don't work. So the gravity drive is limited to working in space or on moons where they operate at 50% effectiveness.
But in space, it's like having that magic hyperspace button you've always dreamed of.
Now of course, making super fast ships is fun and all, but what if there was a more practical use for this technology?